It's 4 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, student trustee. We have a missing student trustee. Trustee Nielsen is here. Trustee Croninger, Trustee Miller, Trustee Bloom, Trustee Haslan, and Trustee Aboud. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. And one of our favorite times in our meetings. So thank you for doing this, staff. It's item 2.5, recognitions.
We do. We have 3 recognitions today. The first one is Hector Barboza, and we have Josh Murray here to honor him. So Josh, if you'd come down. Yeah, Hector can come down with you, sure. You torture him a little bit.
Good afternoon, President Gallardo, members of the board, Dr. Beebe. Hector Barboza has been a valued member of our custodial team at City College for the past 20 years. He is a staple of our physical education building, an integral part of the care of our athletic facilities, which obviously contributes to the success of these programs and classes offered in these spaces. Hector is truly a team member, constantly pitching in and helping cover and support staff when needed. On a recent Friday evening, when we were significantly shorthanded, Hector went out of his way to offer his services to cover trash pickup duties, which I was helping that evening. I was working on that for the evening. I had worked all day. He had kind of recognized that. And so he said, you go home, you be with your family. So because of Hector's efforts, I was able to put my kids to bed, and they actually got to see me that evening. So that's just another piece of him constantly going out of his way to support myself, to support our staff. Another story, it's not on my notes. Recently, Hector called in to share a story that involved his family being escorted via limousine in the San Ynez Valley. And I said, oh no, we have this person out. He's like, really? That's pretty bad. I said, yeah, but you guys have fun. He said, no, I'll come in. So he missed the limo ride in the San Ynez Valley because he knew what a nightmare we had here at the college that evening. So this just speaks to how much Hector is such a team player. Hector is generous in sharing his vast custodial knowledge with other staff members. Again, 20 years, you learn a thing or two about your trade. And one of our staff members recently referred to Hector as an uncle-like character who always ensures their needs are being met. We are beyond blessed to have Hector Barboza on our team that cares for and ensures success of our facilities at Santa Barbara City College. He continually helps to facilitate conducive learning spaces for our students, faculty, and staff.
20 years. 20 years. So we also have Marnie Lopez Manzo, and we have Melissa Marino here to honor Marnie.
Pretty.
Good afternoon, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Beebe. Mari has been a dedicated student program advisor in our non-credit programs for many years, well, for 20 years. She chooses to be in the trenches with our most vulnerable populations who step foot on a college campus for the first time. Mari has had other opportunities across campus over the years, and yet time and time again, she gives that up for her passion for our underserved population. She simply loves what she does. Mari is often the first person a student sees on that first step of the journey toward bettering themselves. Mari has the invaluable qualities of compassion, caring, and kindness. She has a knack for motivating students to achieve something when students are without direction. Mari has been here so long, she teaches me how things work on campus and in the non-credit world. She knows quite a bit about our institution, its history, and she is a staunch advocate for non-credit needs. She goes the extra mile as a liaison on committees that are relevant to what we do at Extended Learning. Her colleagues tell me she's empowered students by providing them with careful guidance and resources to help them succeed in the academic and personal lives. She has an innate ability to refer students to precisely what they need for success. Other qualities admired by her colleagues include her knowledge, compassion, and willingness to go above and beyond to assist her students with resources. And here's a quote: "It has been a privilege for me to work with Mari and see so many successful and happy students as a result of her hard work and dedication." And finally, her colleagues say, without a doubt, Mari is an extraordinary and amazing advisor. So congratulations, Mari, on your 20th anniversary at SBCC.
I just want to say thank you so much to the college. I was a student here. I started as a student. And like many of my students, felt the same way that I wasn't college bound. And I ended up going to the University of Northridge, and I was recruited by many colleges after being here for a couple of years. And one of the things that stands in my mind from, I think, the first year that I started working here was a local firefighter came to our graduation for high school students. And he said to me, "You are the luckiest person because you get to do God's work, get paid, and work for a great institution as the college." So I hold that dearly in my heart, and every time I work with the student, that's where I begin my day. And I want to thank you all for having me. Thank you.
So the last one is Cynthia Rogers, and we've got James Zavas to present and honor her. 10 years.
All right. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Beebe. Normally I get to come here and talk about exciting things like budgets and numbers and stuff like that. Actually, no, that's boring. Tonight I actually get to do something exciting, which is to recognize Cindy Rogers for her 10 years of service to Santa Barbara City College. One of the first things I think everybody should know about Cindy is that she's the college's unofficial, self-appointed accounting goddess. I've had the pleasure of supervising Cindy for the past 5 years. When I first arrived, Cindy was an accounting technician 3, and she's primarily responsible for reconciling all of our cash accounts, administering our district credit card program, and handling a number of other various accounting reconciliations and tasks on a daily basis, as well as whatever else we threw at her. So almost 2 years ago, she decided she didn't want to do that anymore and was promoted to take the accounting position down at the bookstore, where she handles all the day-to-day accounting operations down there. One of the things that I think is interesting as part of her duties down there is she's one of the many people that works to make the promise happen. There's a lot that goes on down at the bookstore, and she works closely with the foundation to make the books and the supplies portion of that program actually function. Outside of work, Cindy lives down in Ventura with her 2 spoiled dogs. Because living in Ventura requires commuting up here, and Cindy really hates driving, she's been a major participant in our campus commuting program really since the beginning. She was one of the Vanpool members. Now she's either carpooling or taking the train up every single day. So that's pretty cool. She also enjoys crafting and is always working on one project or another. And also every Christmas, all of her coworkers can expect to find some new handmade decoration for their office. Cindy has quite a few things she's fond of saying, little sayings here and there that she always has. One that I always liked hearing on the phone was, you'd hear her say something along the lines of, I might not be the right person to answer your question, but I want to make sure the next person you talk to is the right person. So I always thought that was a really good thing I always heard from her. So Cindy, thank you for your 10 years of service, and I look forward to the next 10.
Well, congratulations, Hector, Mari, and Cynthia. That's a collective half a century. So that is a long time. And I truly love this, and I'm sure the rest of our board does. And the common theme here is always that you guys love this institution. And from taking care of the facilities to get the kids in, to Mari helping them figure out what to do, and then Cindy's like, all right, get your supplies and go. So that's awesome. Good job, you guys. Thank you. Do we not have anything to be taken out of order? Nope.
Nothing.
Good. Okay. Item 3.1, minutes of the regular meeting of September 27th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved by Trustee Haslam and second by Trustee Bloom to approve the regular minutes of September 27, 2018. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 4.1, public comments. We don't have any. And I just scrolled really fast. Okay. Item 5.1, report by Academic Senate. Patricia Stark.
Hello. Give me a second to get comfortable with all of the equipment here. Make sure my equipment works. Hello, everyone. I wasn't here last month, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. You're going to notice images of corn in this presentation, and the reason for that is I'm going to talk about a program which has been nominated for an exemplary award by one of our Senate committees. So these are some images that the Channels Lab teaching assistant John Rose took this afternoon. This is our permaculture garden over on the West Campus. One of our student volunteers working in that. This is on East Campus, actually behind the Channels Lab, raised gardens with herbs, vegetables, and other types of crops. Baby lettuces to be shared with the SBCC Food Pantry to help our students who have food insecurity. And kale, which is good for everybody. We should all eat more of it. Anyway, the Academic Senate Faculty Recognition Committee works very hard and is actually extremely successful in identifying those programs on campus that they can nominate for state awards. And we've had a very good run. This year our nominee is the Permaculture Garden. This is out of the letter that I wrote to support the nomination. A little bit narcissistic, but I'll quote my own writing. Instead of manicured lawns and water-greedy hothouse specimen, large portions of our grounds are covered with sustainable plants that help solve the food insecurity of our students. I'm impressed by the thought and science that preceded this project, how apt it is for our fragile environment. People tell me they think of Santa Barbara as paradise. To the extent this is true, we are a paradise posed at the precipice of drought, fires, and fatal mudslides. The permaculture garden is SBC's response to those threats, a living lab that teaches our students and demonstrates for our community what sustainable gardening can be. So these are our Faculty Recognition Committee members. They work very hard. And a huge thank you to Professor Adam Green, who's not here because I didn't tell him I was going to be talking about this today because I threw this together at the last minute. But he was the visionary behind this garden along with Mark Broomfield and our Facilities and Operations Department and a dozen of student volunteers who have put in an estimated 1,824 volunteer hours according to the nomination. So this is actually to give some credit to our hardworking Faculty Recognition Committee. Last year, their nominee for the Exemplary Program Award actually won the state award. That was our Express to Success program under the direction of Professor Kathy Malloy. We also won the John W. Rice Diversity Award for our Spark program under coordinator Chelsea Lancaster. And for the first time, they instituted a new award for our local faculty called the Above and Beyond Faculty Awards. So this has been one of our very successful Senate committees. They really seem to have an eye for picking out winners. So we really appreciate the work that they do. Anyway, the reason I wasn't here last month is that I was on my way to Berkeley. We decided to send a delegation of 2 people from the Academic Senate, 2 people from the FA for a day-long event, and it was all funded through the Aspen Award, which Dr. Beebe and Dr. Ralston gave to the Academic Senate this year to pursue some of our goals around equity, sexual discrimination, various other things that we included in a resolution to promote campus civility. It was sponsored by the State Academic Senates and a Faculty Association and American Association of University Professors. Our keynote was Erwin Chemerinsky, who's the Dean of the UC Berkeley Law School. He gave a very chilling address, very well documented about the erosion of civil liberties in this country under our current Supreme Court and made some very disturbing predictions about what would happen. This was, by the way, the same day or the day after the Supreme Court hearings on now Justice Kavanaugh were being heard. We had 2 reps from the Senate and 2 from the Faculty Association. Cornelia was one of those. We had a great time. We walked around the campus when it was all over. But getting back to work, the Academic Senate and our Academic Policies Committee is now researching and reporting back for the Senate on this. It's a really pressing issue. It's a pressing issue for faculty all over the country. In these political times, we want to know, we have things to express. We have things we need to say. We're allowed to say certain things under the First Amendment. Is this also appropriate under academic freedom? The purpose of this conference was to lay out what's the difference between the two, and it really is significant. So this is something that we hope to educate all of our faculty. And then we're planning a campus-wide forum. Actually, Cornelia was just texting me because we're not quite sure it's spring. It could be late fall, but we're talking about bringing that to a forum as soon as we can get our scheduling organized. So I'm really proud to say this is a joint project of the Faculty Association and the Academic Senate. Other Senate work that we've done in the last month is the Senate really wanted to find a way to put its structure, its power, if you will, our organization behind the issue of gender equity and sexual bias on campus. So we worked with Dr. Ralston, and we approached a new existing workforce on gender discrimination and gender equity. And we're trying to find a way to take this springtime group, which is very large, very, very passionate, very involved, but we're trying to find a way to codify that into a campus-wide committee that would report to the College Planning Council so that we can take their plans and their initiatives forward for funding, for organization. So what we're trying to do is to take this grassroots group and integrate them into the college structure in a permanent way. So we're really happy to be involved in that work. We just completed the ranking of our new and faculty positions that we'll be hiring for next year. Dr. Beebe worked with us on this. We will be moving forward with hiring faculty for the three searches that were not successful last year, in addition to another 14 new and replacement faculty. And the Senate put close to 3 weeks of work into this. Dr. Beebe put work in as well. We were able, our lists did not match each other exactly, but they were pretty close. So we're very, very pleased to be moving forward with that. This is really kind of roiling the campus these days, and I'm going to go ahead and put it up there. We have a current AP administrative procedure that sets our teaching limits at 21 TLUs in the main term and another one for the summer. It's been spottily applied across the board, and our new administration has made a renewed effort to try to match that with the current schedules. We have some faculty who are very dissatisfied with that, very unhappy. So we're going to be talking about that among ourselves and trying to come up with some recommendations on how to move forward on what I think is a very important issue. And we're continuing to work on faculty evaluations. We have our procedure, which we're updating, trying to work out the legal problems with it, and also developing more intensive training for faculty so that we can do a good job with these evaluations. I got to click a lot because Liz converted my thing, and now she converted my presentation, and it's got a few blanks in it. I also need to mention, and this is not anything that the Senate, this is not really something that a Senate initiative, but I need to point out to you how we have faculty working on campus right now on major statewide initiatives that are going to have I don't even know yet how to predict the kind of impact it's going to have on our students, but it's going to be enormous. AB 705 is the legislation that essentially eliminates our students taking assessment tests. And so our English department, our English as a second language department, and our math department have put together a team, and they are working on what is that going to look like. What are we going to do with students when the way we're going to place them into college level writing and math classes is based on high school scores and other types of things. So developmental classes as we know them will largely no longer be offered. And that's just as big as it sounds. So we've had these groups of people who have been working all semester on that. They're starting to come up with some specific recommendations. It's going to be a very big challenge for us to implement these. As you know, we continue to work with our Guided Pathways coordinator. The Academic Senate's been hearing regular reports from Margaret. We've been working together to move this forward with some specific types of mapping, planning. We've come up with a list of our meta majors. As with everything at City College, not everyone loves them, but we're going to move it ahead. We also have 3 really, really large initiatives, student equity, student success and support, and our basic skills initiatives. These are 3 programs that have been categorically funded by the state separately. The funding next year will collapse into one fund. So these groups have been meeting in order to develop a plan for how they're going to take 3 and turn them into one. Each one of these initiatives on its own involves many, many faculty, many of our students, and all go straight to the heart of trying to succeed with our most vulnerable students. And finally, where's Sachi's picture? It didn't show up. Okay, well, I had a picture of Sachi up there. Sachiko Oates is, I'm very happy to say, now seated as the Senate's first representative from the non-credit part of our college. So we're very happy to have her. I think she's acclimating to the Senate somewhat. And some of my pictures aren't showing up, but that's okay. Anyway, that's the end of my presentation, and I thank you very much.
Wow. Do you guys have any? Yes.
The remedial issue is really interesting to me. I just wanted to ask, are you all thinking about, wraparound services to help people, do like tutoring and support if they aren't going to be in the remedial class and they're going to be in a more challenging class, helping them out going through that? Is that what might be on their mind?
All of that. There has to be tutoring. The English department is looking at things differently from the math department. English is now looking at a supplemental class that the students would have to take. They can't require it, but they can make it optional. And math, every time I start talking about math, I get a little bit confused. But they're trying to figure out how they are going to offer that type of supplementation. Very, very heavy with tutoring. And their plan's not quite done yet. So as soon as we know how this will work. One of the things that's interesting about this as well is many of our courses throughout the college require eligibility for English 110. That goes away. So I'm a journalism teacher, for example. I can no longer say you need to, because everybody is eligible for English 110. It's really a very big culture shift.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you were first. Go ahead, Peter.
Well, just to comment on the first part of your presentation, the West Campus Gardens. I was there a little while ago, probably the same time that picture was taken.
John was taking the pictures.
Yeah, and I encountered two people working on the inside, and I said, hey, guys, I have this lime tree, and it is not doing very well. And the response was just very, very helpful. I mean, I just love that about the people who work here. They're willing to stop whatever they're doing and share a thought. So, soon as this meeting is over, I'll go home and put some fertilizer on that damn tree.
Some water.
One of the things I put in my letter is that when I walk back to my car from the Channels Lab, whenever there are people in the garden, they'll just give me a bunch of fresh fresh basil, and I can make pesto that night for dinner. It's just really terrific. Question?
It was interesting, your comments on what you're doing to comply with that AB 705. And it's a topic that I've been following for several years now, and it's been happening in other parts of the country, as you probably are very well aware of. And I had noticed that there were, in numerous places, there were simultaneous classes being offered, like for both the math and the English, which is probably what you were referring to as the way the English department was kind of looking at it, where it might be voluntary. But it seems to be working, at least in large part after a few years experimentation with it, and the first year there was no change. At least it didn't get worse, the resulting of the student results.
The goal behind the legislature is, if you take a look at the current numbers, what we're doing, we need to move the needle on. So let's try this. If we want to try something that's not strictly in the legislation, like supplemental classes, we can offer a few developmental classes, but there's got to be support that it's successful, codified statistical support on that. So we'll see. But it is a gigantic culture change.
I was interested in the academic freedom versus First Amendment issue that was presented by Dean Chermaninsky. He, by the way, is recognized as one of the very top constitutional law scholars in the country. I'm just wondering if he produced any papers or any document that you could share with us from that meeting.
He has not. Those three organizations I mentioned, the State Academic Senate, FACT, which is the state union, and the AAUP, I have lots.
Yeah.
But what we're looking for is something really concise, something that applies specifically to City College, so that our faculty don't have to immerse themselves in the literature, but can really have something practical to help us on a day-to-day level. No, he specifically did not, but among the other three groups, we were provided with lots of resources.
So your goal is to come up with something that is less than this for faculty and others to be able to read. Good.
And also to deepen our understanding, both the union and the Senate, because this really is something that we need to educate ourselves on.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you envision a public forum on that topic? Okay.
Wow. Those are big items.
Those are huge items.
Did you envision that when you signed up for this gig? Yeah, well, you're doing a great job. So thank you. Wow. Okay, guys, report by the associate students. Josh Villanueva. Is that your full name, or is it Joshua and you just go by Josh?
Is Joshua Tyler Yuson Villanueva.
Thank you for sharing that.
All right. Hello, President Gallardo, Dr. Beebe, members of the board. I hope you saw my email I sent you earlier with my report items on there. I want to start off with what the Associated Student Government has been doing now. Right now, we have 6 new members. That includes the Commissioner of Academics, Clubs, Events, Marketing, and Sustainability, as well as the Secretary, which he is doing a really good job at the moment. We have 46 clubs to date. And last time I talked to you, we had Vanessa Vera. She was outreaching to our students to register them as voters. And up to now, she has registered 170 voters, which I'd say is a good amount for someone who's in a voluntary position and has a lot of volunteers that are helping her. A lot of our volunteers are actually from our community too, which I just want to say that I appreciate our community really helping out to get our students registered to vote. Another thing we have up is the student trustee resignation. As you have heard, Crystal Farmer had resigned. In response to that, we are deciding to roll out a special election for the position. The applications open up on Monday, and there will be campaigning soon after the application closes. Besides that, we have finished out our voter registration events, our resolution events, as we are leaving at 7 p.m. tonight to go to General Assembly like I talked about last time. And our bill cycle events will start up very soon to inform our students on what bills are in the cycle or what bills are coming up in the cycle. And also some pamphlets are being created to inform our students on a lot of the voting that's going to come up in November, what the students can vote on, very unbiased approaches to the voting. So that's what we've been up to now. But moving forward, we are looking at supporting that MTD go all electric for their buses. It's something that I'm looking at signing and sending forward. I know they're talking about it right now, and it looks like it might happen. So that's one of the things we're looking at talking about. And then, as I mentioned before, we're looking at the information pamphlets for the students on the voting in November. Another thing too is we have passed budget to provide shuttles to our students, or for our students to go to polling stations and the voting stations. And the reason why we looked at doing this is because a lot of low-income students kind of need help figuring out where they need to go, and also there's that piece of transportation isn't available to them. So we're going to have a table and guide them on where they should be going if they want to poll or if they would like to go vote. Besides that, most of our attention is going to go towards the special election and informing the students of next month's election. But yeah, that's pretty much everything moving forward.
You have also been very busy.
Will your special election be a campus-wide election, or is it going to be a campaign for the Student Senate to make the final selection?
It's going to be campus-wide. The students are going to vote, and that was a decision that I decided to push forward just because the student trustee, in my eyes, is a position that should reflect the views of the students. So I look towards having a debate for that position as well. I want the student voice to be reflected when that position is that position selected. So I decided not to appoint the position because of that reason.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Oh, and one more thing, I forgot to add. We don't have a meeting tomorrow because we are going to General Assembly until Sunday, but we will be having a meeting next week, and we're going to talk about appointing an interim student trustee until the end of the semester. So that's what we're looking at doing in the meantime. So you can expect someone, hopefully internally to come up and be on the board until the new trustee starts off in the spring.
Thank you, Josh. You gave us so much information for our item down in the governing board area. So you might, if you stick around, then I feel like you covered a lot of that for us. That item 12.3.
Oh, item 12.3, yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for doing our job.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any more questions?
See you in Ontario. Oh yeah. I'll see you there. Yeah.
Okay. Item 5.3, report from classified employees. Liz Auchincloss.
Good afternoon, members of the board, Dr. Beebe. I wanted to thank VP Lindsay Moss for coming to our CCG meeting and giving us a presentation on the facilities master plan. She'll be coming back early next year also to update us on what's going on. We're also involved in discussing AB 705. One of our members, Sarah Voley, is actually on the group, in the core group, because she's the assessment coordinator. So she's been doing assessment coordinating for a long time now, so this is important for her to help to, I guess, transition into the new thing. We've also been involved in guided pathways. And we've also been involved in it's called EEOAC. It's the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Committee. And they've been doing some good things. So you'll hear about more, I'm sure, from VP Mona Hazen. And then I wanted to thank the board that's doing the ad hoc committee. I think the staff who go, and maybe not a lot, but people, I think, appreciate the fact that the board has an opportunity where they can listen to what people have to say. So I support that. I don't know how long it continue, but I'm glad that it's happening. I think it's good for the board to educate themselves on what's going on at college. And then CSA hasn't endorsed any candidates for the board election, but we did send out a survey, a questionnaire, I should say, and I wanted to thank all of the candidates and board members that responded to our survey. We got almost everyone did respond, so I wanted to thank them for taking the time to do that for us. And we did forward that to our unit through the email. So thank you for completing those. Any questions?
Thank you, Liz. Any questions for Liz? That assessment component, yeah, because that assessment office up there would be functioning different.
Yes, very much so.
Could people, I mean, what if, you're like, okay, my counselor told me that I could take Math 107, but I might be taking Math 120. Could I say, oh, well, can I take the assessment just to get another, anecdotal metrics stick? Even though, they can't hold it against me, but and I don't know why students would want to take a test. But maybe the counselor says, well, why don't you check out where, you might get the results and then.
I don't think so. I think it's not available any longer.
Oh, it's
than that,
just
right?
going to be gone.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's gone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, so we'll have to work with our high school partners to really help the students, because English 110 is going to be the first course that's going to set their college transcript for transfer. So, if you get a bad grade, you're going to need a couple A's before you can get back to a 3.0.
I know the faculty have been doing just tremendous amount of work
Yeah.
in preparation for all of this, and they've been thinking through all the possible permutations and combinations of how students can be successful. And I have full faith and confidence in whatever they're going to end up coming up with.
Yeah, they always.
But at some point, it's probably going to be worthwhile having a session on AB 705 and where we are. I know we've been talking about it at CPC and other places, but I think it'd be very valuable, and you'd all appreciate it.
Wow, good luck. Okay. Item 5.4, Dr. Beebe.
So, as you can tell, everybody's been super busy. There's been a lot of things going on at the college. I wanted to spend my report highlighting the parent-child workshops that we have across the district. And as you may know, we have 4 of those. We have the Star King, San Marcos, the Oaks, and the Lou Grant Parent-Child Workshop in Carpinteria. And some of you may not know this, but these are actually separate entities. They're separate 501c3s licensed to operate as preschools. And it was just amazing to me. We had a celebration of the 70th anniversary of the Star King Parent-Child Workshop on Sunday, and also the Lou Grant Parent-Child Workshop down in Carpinteria. And it's just amazing to me the community connections that we have with those workshops. I attended the Star King celebration, 70th anniversary, and given that it's been around for 70 years, I mean, some of the students that went through that preschool program are 50 and 60 years old, so it was fun to talk to them about their experience back in the day and their scrapbooks that go all the way back. But just really wonderful program. We have such a deep connection. Many of our staff and faculty have had kids go through those programs. I had a chance to meet several generations of students that had gone through that program. One thing that you may not also realize is that we provide the instructional support, the faculty support for those 4 programs. They're 4 fantastic programs that I want to just recognize and make sure that we talk about broadly and in full breath whenever we get an opportunity to do that. I know some of the board members had a chance to go to those celebrations, but they are absolutely critical to this community and quite a prize for the college and for the community. So I just wanted to highlight that in my report. Maybe there's some board members that like to talk about that as well.
Sure. I attended the Lou Grant operation. They had a 43rd, I think, year celebration and fundraiser. So the 501c3 part of it is to raise funds for everything except the salaries. We supply those funds. What they do is truly remarkable. You know, as a former classroom teacher, I could often tell when a student came in with a certain bearing, a sense of him or herself, a capacity for self-discipline and motivation, and I'd engage them in conversation, and they would have participated in a program like that. This is a program where parents are taught, not the kids. The kids are there too, but the parents are receiving the instruction. And you know, none of us, at least I was not particularly trained before I became a parent. It was sort of on-the-job training. And having had, I mean, my kids went through this program, and my grandkids went through this program, and I am absolutely sold on the value of doing this. So I'm very proud of us for supporting them.
And they make like the best classroom volunteers because Roseville gets all the Star King parents, and they're also part of the Kinder Readiness Network, which is the work funded by the Bowers Foundation, and those children are very socially and academically prepared, and the parents just look at children in a way that is both, you know, with goals of social and academic, but one of them actually, after volunteering for years, now has signed up to, she's working for the district now because they needed a couple hours of support staff on campus. And so those are the kind of parents that come out of Star King. Like, they don't have to, but they just do, and they tie shoes, they help with homework, they zip up backpacks, they see kids on the corner, they help them across the street. And so that, I feel like, is just such an invaluable asset to our community that I'm so glad that we can support that, because it's good.
Yes, I had the honor of going to the Star King 70th anniversary celebration and their picnic there, and it was just so impressive. Multiple generations, I think a couple hundred people really with a connection at all levels to that program, and it's a rewarding thing for everyone to see what a family that forms throughout our community, and the things that, as Veronica just mentioned and Peter just mentioned, redounds to the benefit of our community. And among the things that Star King is doing is they're preparing a strategic plan, and this, I think, is a wonderful thing, because they are supporting, and I think it's a great idea to have more parent-child workshops, perhaps a parent-child workshop that would speak to the needs of our Spanish-speaking community and their culture, and as well in Goleta is another place that we're looking to expand those communities.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda. So is there a motion to approve item 7.1 through item 9.6? Unless you guys had a question on any of the reports or wanted to pull anything out? Yes.
Just a quick procedural question. This amendment is part of the consent agenda,
So-
so can we move to approve it as amended?
As amended so item 7.3, you guys have just an updated from HR, which has to do with the steps, right, in the salary? Yeah, so we haven't updated, so.
The
you-
levels.
The levels,
We put
yes.
the levels in.
We put the levels in, not we, somebody, Dr. Beebe and his team. So then is there a motion to approve item 7.1 through 9.6 with the amended item for 7? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved by trustee Abud and seconded by trustee Mueller to approve items 7.1 through 9.6 with the amended agenda item of 7.3. Any discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 10.1, a resolution establishing the appropriate limit for 2018-19. So this is the GAN limit. You usually see this in our audit report at the year end. And so if anyone, I'll take a motion to approve, and then we can ask if you have any questions or anything. So is there a motion to approve the resolution number 3, establishing the appropriate limit for 2018-19?
So moved.
And second? Okay, it's been moved by trustee Carpenter, second by trustee Nielsen to approve resolution number 3, establishing the appropriate limit, appropriation limit for 2018-19. Any discussion?
I have a quick question. I didn't get to look at the attachment for this one, and maybe it is answered, but the GAN limit only applies to a property tax collection, or does it include state funds because of the new 9 million? Does that interact with that at all? Does
Vice
anyone know?
President Moss, you want to,
Vice President Moss is on her way.
or Dr. Beebe, somebody?
She's coming. Why are they going the long way?
I know.
It's easier for me to talk about it if I have it in front of me. James saved me, my computer just died. So if you open I don't know if you have a computer handy, if you open the
Let me see
attachment
it.
of the actual worksheet, at the bottom, it shows you which appropriations are subject to the actual limit, the revenues that are a part of that. So it's telling you that first line is our apportionment. So yes, the increase in our apportionment would be in there, and then it's the property taxes. So this is something that was put into place in 1979. It's very, very old and outdated at this point. In fact, I was just at a conference where we were talking about all these wonderful laws and regulations that we live under that are really out of date at this point. So it's just showing that our appropriations limit is 97 million, and we have to be below the appropriations subject to the limit, which is the 77 million. So it's really a formality that we complete this. It's a $20 million difference. We're nowhere near the limit. So it doesn't impact much on
What
it.
is that $20 million difference? Is that like tuition is what comes up as the revenue to make up that gap, or?
In the actual revenues, so yeah, the piece that's missing are our enrollment fees, our out-of-state and international enrollment fees aren't in there. So yeah, you have the right idea.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Item 11.1, Student Success Scorecard.
Oh, we have Z here to give us our annual scorecard review. And you may remember we did this last year. So we want to make sure that we do this every year, just so you are up to speed on where we are and what we've been doing and how we're progressing on different things. Okay.
Oh, we like paper.
All right, so you
Or I
changed the
do.
slides.
President Gallardo, esteemed members of board, President Superintendent Beebe, thank you for having me here today to share our results from the most current Student Success Scorecard. So I would ask that as I go through this, that we hold all of the questions for the end, and I will work to get through the summary of this in an expedient manner to save plenty of time for questions. So the Student Success Scorecard, I'm going to go through this and kind of keep it at more of a summary, highlight some of the things that are good, some of the areas of focus that we are trying to improve these metrics on, and then kind of move forward. So first, we'll kind of orient to the metrics that are on the scorecard. We'll move into kind of a review of the profile of our college as of 2016-17, some of the highlights in there. Then we'll move into a comparison to the statewide numbers, a comparison to our peer institutes, and then some of the equity outcomes that we're focused on as a Hispanic Serving Institute. And then finally, a kind of a short lead into where the Student Success Scorecard is moving into the future. We are seeing some of the final days of the Student Success Scorecard as it is right now.
We don't like that.
All right, so if you look up Student Success Scorecard, this brings you to this landing page here. And this is where you can select any of the 114 colleges, soon to be 115 as soon as the online community college. I'm not sure if they'll actually make it into the scorecard on time, actually. They'll probably end up in the simplified metrics when we move in that direction. Things to really keep in mind as we go through the scorecard. The scorecard is predominantly focused on a 6-year window. So we'll be talking about students in the 2011-2012 academic year and the achievements that they've done in the 6 years up to 2016-17. I'll highlight the 2 areas where this is an exception, but that's the main consideration to keep as we go through the scorecard is that this is the 2011-12 student cohort, first time in our college. This also focuses on a system-wide analysis of students, so trying to track students from our college, if they go to Moore Park, if they go to Diablo Valley College, throughout the whole system. And because of that, it is based on Social Security numbers. So all of the outcomes that we're talking about today will be for those students who have Social Security numbers. So this is the overview of kind of the metrics that are reported on the scorecard. There are 9 metrics reported. I'm not going to go through every one of these in depth. I'm going to focus on kind of bringing out some of the highlights of these and then some of the areas that we're focusing on improving and comparing these to our state and peer institutes. But the 9 outcomes are looking at remedial math, how many of those students make it from remedial math, anything below transfer level, to transfer level math within 6 years, similar for English and ESL. Then we'll be moving into transfer level achievement. This will be looking at how many students achieve transfer level English or math within 6 years. Persistence, this is going to be looking at college, how many students make it to the first 3 primary terms within 6 years, which is a bit of a weird one, but the first 3 primary terms. And then 30 units, how many students have achieved 30 units within 6 years. And then moving into the career technical education of those students who started in CTE programs, how many of those achieved 8 units within that discipline within a 6-year time frame. So of the ones that are on here, the ones that are not going to follow the 6-year window is the current profile. That's going to be our 16-17 profile. We'll see that on the next slide here. And then transfer achievement is looking at a cohort starting in 2015-16. And the skills builders, this last one down here, is going to be looking at a cohort from 2014-15. Other than that, everything else will be looking at a 6-year window for those students in the 2011-12. So, some highlights on us. We have been pretty consistently improving on all of the metrics across the scorecard from 2017. They are typically small increments of 1 to 3 percentage points, but we are seeing that consistent gain across a lot of our metrics, which kind of speaks to the work that we're doing to both understand these metrics and work on continually improving these. Before we get in too far, 24,717 is our annual unduplicated head count as of 2016-17, and this does include non-credit. It does not include fee-based non-credit. So then looking down here, we've got some notable increases in this area. looking at our 5-year average. So a lot of these numbers, they'll move 1% or 2% somewhat based on chance. So it's very good to get a grasp of what is that 5-year average and how are we doing compared to that. So that's what we have presented over here in this far column is the 5-year average. That's going to be looking at 2013 through 2017, aggregating all of our scorecard metrics there, and then looking at our current ones and how we're performing there. And in each of these areas, we're seeing good improvements in those areas. Okay, so here, I apologize. I wrestle with whether to show graphs or tables, and I can never decide which one to do. So I've got tables and graphs. This is going to be looking at comparisons to our statewide numbers in areas where we are doing better than the statewide average. I'd like to pull out a few areas that are looking particularly good. I'm going to move to the graph because it highlights it a little bit better than the table. The table provides you lots of good detail, but the graph is a little more visually appealing. So what we're seeing here is that we're doing very good in this transfer level. So transfer level math, 1 year, 2 year, transfer level English, 1 year and 2 year. In all of these areas, we're seeing ourselves doing significantly better than the state average. Also in the degree completion overall, so this bar here, we see the similar thing where we're doing significantly better than the statewide average. So these are some areas that we are not doing as well as the statewide average that we would like to speak to a little bit more. So one of the consistent themes we'll see a little bit is persistence, and that we're a little bit below the statewide average in persistence, and we have a lot of areas that are starting to look at this in different ways of trying to improve that persistence. We have 3 different grants that are looking at this in different manners. One of them is looking at trying to identify those students that are most at risk for dropping out or leaving the class, and then providing peer mentors to help them through that, as well as providing them faculty mentors to really help them see what the value is and help them to see that they can succeed in their college. We also have things like the IPath grant, which is continuing to help students get a better feel for how they're going to get through their GEs and transfer to CSU, UCSB, or wherever their final destination may be. We also have a Removing Barriers STEM Success grant, which is focusing specifically in STEM to try to help improve these persistence numbers and provide students the resources that they need to continue moving through all that. And of course, there is Guided Pathways, which is in large an effort to start to recognize that student persistence can often be a result of a very long pathway. And providing students a very clear idea of how they're going to get through that pathway is hopefully going to help them see the light at the end of the tunnel to keep them persisting through in those hard times when life throws some sort of speed bumps in their way. So, ESL is probably one of the most difficult metrics we have on this, and this is going to be statewide a very difficult metric to understand because unlike English and math, an ESL program is not standardized at the same level. So we offer a comprehensive ESL program. We bring in people who have little to no experience speaking English, all the way to those who have a pretty high level of English proficiency. And our ESL program, they're very dedicated to this because they feel it's very much a thing of equity, that bringing in students from a diverse community that have little to no English background but do want to pursue an academic discipline, they are going to need to have that appropriate structure. So at our very entry levels of ESL is bringing in students who have little to no kind of formal education in their native language, but would like to start developing that in English. Up to levels 5, where we're bringing in students who have probably some sort of formal high school diploma, maybe some college work in their native language, and they want to kind of pursue a more formal degree in English. Now, my team and I did a pretty extensive look across our peer colleges to try to identify, can we compare ourselves to other colleges on this metric? And the short outcome is no. There's too much variety in the different programs, the way that the programs are structured, how many levels each program has, to reliably compare ourselves to them on this metric. Some colleges only have 2 levels below, so they're only offering courses to those students who come in with some formal education in their native language and are kind of ready to start moving in. So there's not really kind of a fair comparison there. So that's kind of what I'd like to speak to with the ESL, and that speaks to some of the going dialogue that we've had in past years about coding and is this comparable. Yes?
I just wanted to ask you about that metric right there. Make sure this is on. That metric that you have right there that compares us to the statewide success rate in ESL. Are we looking at apples and oranges then, basically, when we look at those two bars?
More like apples and tulips.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not even round. So I would discourage making any strong decisions based on this metric. To go along with that, ESL has a number of outcomes that go beyond just making it to transferable English. Many of the ESL students go into career educational focus, which doesn't require a transfer level English course. And they're still successful, and they still came to SBCC and left with what they were hoping to get.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's look at some of our peer institutes. So peer institutes were identified because they have a similar size, programs, services, and student demographic characteristics. So based on those, they say, okay, these programs look similar to us. Down here in the very tiny font are those colleges if you want to look at them a little bit later. But what we've done is take the average from all of those colleges and then our own scores and see how we're kind of doing. Again, I'm wrestling with tables and graphs. I'm going to move on to the graph because it's a little bit more favorable to look at. Here again, I'd like to highlight that we are doing exceptionally well in transfer level achievement with English and math. We are above our peer institutes average and pretty remarkably, a very nice strong number above that. It's not a just little percentage point. Also, in our degree and completion overall. So we're showing that more of our students are achieving their degree and transfer outcomes within that 6-year window than at our peer institutes. And then previously on the CDCP on statewide, we are a little bit below the statewide average with the CDCP courses. Those are the career, I just forgot the acronym.
Career Development College Preparation.
Yes, Career Development College Preparation courses, thank you. So while we are a little bit below on statewide, within our peer institutes, we are performing at about the same level, which helps to kind of say that we are confronting some of the similar issues that we're seeing with our peer colleges where other state colleges may not. And that's something to really keep in mind whenever we're comparing ourselves to a state metric. How accurate is that comparison? So when we compare ourselves to a peer institute, we're trying to control for a lot of other variables and get to something that's a little bit more apples to apples. So we've got several areas that we are kind of focusing on improvement. Again, we see the persistence come up. It's not as notable when we are comparing to the statewide. Really, the one that kind of stands out there is persistence for the prepared students. We see the similar difference with ESL. And then skill builders, we see another one here. Now, Strong Workforce has invested in trying to further understand what is going on with this. To that aim, they've allowed me to hire another research and assessment analyst to really start focusing specifically on Strong Workforce career education to identify how those students are doing, what their needs are, and how they're doing when they leave. Because a lot of the concerns with our skill builders, well, some of the concerns with that is also accurate data collection, because this is going to be based off of an outsized data source and a special import into that. So we're trying to build the resources to have that within a house.
Would you define skill builders for the board?
A skill builder is anyone who comes in taking career education classes who leaves without a degree. So they're coming in, try to build skills to get a little bit of a bump in either their salary or their job has changed a little bit and a certification will help them or something of that nature. So they come in, build a few skills, and then once they have those skills, they return to the workforce and their goals have been met. So I'd like to move into some of the areas of success with equity. So we are a Hispanic serving institute, so it is good to look at how our Hispanic population is doing within the college. We have several areas that are doing very well. I'd like to pull out, again, degree transfer completion. This guy overall. Also persistence overall. And this one is a nice one to see because persistence is one of those areas where we're seeing that we're a little bit below with our peer institutes as well as at the state level. So it's nice to see that our Hispanic students are performing beyond what they're doing in the 5-year average. So we have them kind of moving up about 4% points, and we want to see that trend continue as we move forward. And 30 units overall as well is another area that we're doing very nicely. No, I have to bring up one more thing back a few slides. So we've got this 30 units prepared as one of the areas of focused improvements. And a nice thing to see is with some of the new metrics they're rolling out with the launch board and simplified metrics, this is one of the areas where we're actually top in the state as of 2015-16. So it's not this specific metric, but it's in that same area as of how many students were able to complete 24 credit units within their first year. And as of now, or as of 2015-16, we're the top in state. So it's nice to see that, okay, back in 2011-12, this is how we were doing, but in 15-16, we've made notable strides to change that. So African American students are another population of students within the system-wide that have been very much a population of concern that we want to see performing better and performing at a higher level. So there's been a lot of funding in there, so I would also like to speak a little bit to them. However, before we get too far into this slide, we have to make a note on the small populations. So all of these ones with an asterisk, that's saying that that's a population less than 20. And not to go into statistics too far, but when we go into less than 20, that's when we expect to see means move around a lot. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Scorecard of 2017, we had 75%. 2018, we had 50%. And this is just kind of an artifact of the way that a mean works. And when you have a small sample size, any one student has a larger pull on that data set. So it's something to really keep in mind when you're interpreting any of these numbers with the asterisks on it. So similar in here, we're doing very nicely in transfer level math, where we're seeing those them performing better than the 5-year average and kind of at a notable size, and as well as degree and completion overall. So a few other things that kind of speak to our mission as a college to serve all of the students, the top 100% of students within California, is looking at who are some of the other students that we serve and are we able to serve them adequately. So we serve more students with a disability than either statewide or peer institutes. 10% of our student body has some sort of disability, and it's very nice to see that. As well as first generation, serving more of those than our peer institute, as well as ever receiving financial aid, and I think most importantly, economically disadvantaged, where we are serving significantly more economically disadvantaged students than our peer institutes. And I think that is really one of the core focuses of any community college. Okay, so that's going to wrap up the scorecard. I'd like to move in real shortly into kind of where we're moving for the future. I expect that we'll have one more version of the scorecard, and then we'll be moving into simplified metrics. Simplified metrics might be a bit of a misnomer. We've got 9 metrics here. Simplified is going to have about 100. So simplified. So the launch board, this is where these metrics are going to exist. CalPass Plus carries some of our high school data, but they're also starting to carry the launch board, which is building out a lot of different metrics about our school. So this is where we're starting to see more current information being available about how our students are doing. I'm just going to give a real little quick look into what it looks like. When you go into the launch board, it has all your different metrics, and then you can either select to compare them to benchmarks within the system. You can disaggregate them by ethnicity, by gender, by age, and by a number of different things. So the launch board and the simplified metrics as they're moving forward looks very promising as a continuation of the scorecard to help us move us in a little bit of a more current focus, where we're seeing our students, last year instead of 7 years ago, and also starting to broaden that out. And they've really done a lot of work since to kind of identify what the outcomes look like and how we should be looking at student outcomes across the system. So the simplified metrics, rather than just having kind of the 9 metrics that we've seen in the scorecard and then breaking them up a little bit by, okay, ESL, remedial math, English, is really starting to look at all of our students and say, our students come here with different goals, and we should assess them on those goals, not on degree completion if they're not going towards that. So it's identifying these 5 student groups, and then it's going to look at each of these student groups a little bit differently when we're saying, okay, did we successfully serve this student population? So we're going to see different things with adult ed and ESL when we look at successful enrollment, when we look at learning progress, momentum, and success. So they're breaking it up into different groups, so we'll see kind of different goals per those groups. And then it's starting to rearrange the way that we actually look at the metrics. So instead of having kind of a metric list of 9 metrics that sort of follow the student path loosely, we're seeing a very, very, very tight connection to the student path within the metrics that we look at. So we'll be looking at successful enrollment, learning progress, momentum, success, and then the last 2 points here, employment and earnings, what really most of our students are coming in here to hopefully improve at the end of the day. So the data portal is currently being conceptualized for the simplified metrics, and they're going to be having a planned rollout kind of starting October, and then we'll see it throughout May 2019. I expect that they will continue to develop that past May 19, but that is their current rollout date for that. And that is my summary of the student scorecard.
Thank you very much for taking the time to do this.
I just want to compliment Dr. Reese and his team. They are just a phenomenal team. We are so fortunate to have them. You stop and think of all the things that that office does up there. It does all the statewide reporting for us. Of course, now we've got the new student-centered funding formula, which has a whole set of metrics that are absolutely critical for us to be tracking. We've got all kinds of research projects that are ongoing. We have grant projects that are ongoing. All of these things have to have good data. As a person that loves data myself, you know, Reese and I talk a lot about different things and metrics and so on and so forth. And I can tell you that we are in great shape with Z and his team up there.
Thank
so
you.
Z, thanks so much for all that you do. We appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, Trustee Condra.
Just to ask a couple questions. On our success with Hispanic students page, one of the things that you mentioned was an increase in persistence that we're seeing. And I'm wondering if you think that any of this is attributable to the Promise program.
This 2011-12, I do not believe the Promise program was active, correct?
Correct. It was 2016. So we won't see that impact until basically we get to the new system.
Correct.
Okay. And second question was ESL. You mentioned the kind of the range of our program, starting from students who have little to no language skills and all the way up to higher. Do you have a sense of how many students we have at the lower end of their skills that we're educating?
Very, very roughly, just looking at placement data, I think we're placing, you know, I'd have to go look again. It's been a while since I looked at that number.
Okay. Well, if you come up with it, that I was curious. Thank you.
I'll share
Yeah, we
that.
can get it for you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so I want to ask to clarify, since this is different presentation than how it's been in the past. So you've provided us the tables for when we outperform, but the graphs are only for where we're
My
under?
eternal struggle with to graph or
No,
table.
I just want to understand that. And then, so it looks like we need more improvement across the board is in persistence and compared to these other metrics where we're doing better than everyone else, but persistence is like where we're...
Persistence at the state, when we're comparing ourselves to the state level, that's where we see ourselves lower in all the persistent measures. When we're comparing ourselves to our peer institutes, it's really just the persistence and the prepared that has that kind of notable. We're pretty close on persistence underprepared and persistence overall. And this has got to be one of the areas that we've got the most activities directed at currently within the college.
Okay. And then the Hispanic and African American students, that's compared to the statewide?
This 5-year average is our 5-year
Our
average.
5-year average. Okay. So do we have data for the?
Statewide?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Yeah. The scorecard, if you ever get the chance, you can definitely visit the website, and there's
Check it out.
infinite clicking around to be done.
Okay. Great. And then one last question is the new metrics. So persistence is not going to be one of the 6 new ones, or is that like captured?
It's coming
Is it
in with momentum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Trustee Miller.
I confess that I don't fully understand the persistence metric, and if you could just explain again what it is and how it's measured.
Yeah, so the persistence is looking at first-time students system-wide, so they're the first time they've ever touched a college, and how many of those students make it through fall, spring, and fall within a 6-year window. But it's a sequential thing, so it has to be in order, so the 6-year window kind of becomes mute. So it's how many persist in their first 3 primary terms.
So in this case, if you started in 2011, you made it to the end of fall 2012.
Fall 20, yes.
Any other questions? Oh, thank you for preparing this. This is good. When it's clear, it's clean, and I like simple. And I think the board appreciates just clean information, because sometimes trustees get, and then we email Dr. Beebe questions, and he's like, why are they freaking out? And this helps us, and I know this takes so much staff time. So thank you, Dr. Beebe, and to the staff that you guys are willing to take the time to do this for us. So appreciate it.
Thank you for giving me the time to share.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Z.
Okay, so item 12.1, revision to board policies, chapter 2, and this is BP 2305, which is our new organization, and this is just for discussion, first reading, and I think it has on there, I think already some suggestions that folks had made in terms of just making it a collective board thing that we do. Did anybody have any other comments, or we'll give you a minute to pull it up. I see people clicking away.
It just seems like that's just what we've done already, so we're just making the policy go in line with reality.
Yes,
Great.
exactly.
I think the intent was to gather once a year and have this general discussion at this table, and develop consensus, and at that point, that's when the essentially pro forma board president, no, the board president is not pro forma, but the board president makes the appointment on the basis of and is guided by the development of consensus at this table.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Peter. I don't think this quite captures it with the line out of the president that the board will appoint. I think we're talking about a discussion, and then based on that consensus discussion, the president makes a decision. And that was the discussion we had in August when we were talking about it, because I went back and looked at the video.
I think the reason we went with this was because we vote on it, so it's kind of like it's an action that we take. So it's not like I'm just like, or I would in this seat now say, Jonathan, do this. Jonathan wants to do this, and then we all appoint him because we all vote to do it.
That's how I understood
I think
it, too.
that's what it was.
Yeah, but our discussion came around to no, we didn't need to vote on it. We just needed a consensus to inform the president making a decision. So
I see.
It's not huge
I
one
think
way.
we're making too much of it. I think developing consensus is a form of vote. And that's a time when somebody can say, yeah, I'm really interested in doing that job. I really hear that as a significant contributor to where to appoint who. So I don't want to quibble about the wording too much.
I mean, if there was a situation where there were 2 board members who wanted to do the same position, there was like an actual difference between them, and the board had different feelings of who should be that position, I think this revision says someone will make a motion saying, okay, I move to make Peter the representative to this because I think the other person would not be as good as Peter. And if we didn't have consensus, the board is
Then
going to
we'd
be the
have-
final
sure.
vote, and not the president just saying, well, the board majority might be for Peter, but I'm going to pick the other person because I'd like to, even though, you know, I don't know, there was a discussion and I heard the board, but I'm going to pick this person anyways. But this is saying the board's just going to make a decision as a body saying, this is the board's representative to this body, to this other group. And that's why I'm more comfortable with this version.
Highly nuanced, but I hear what you're saying, and I think that in some ways it still captures what it is that you're wanting to accomplish.
Any other thoughts? No? Okay, so this will come back to us for second and final reading. Okay, item 12.2, report from board members. Here are those committees that we just talked about, if anything, or personal.
Yeah, legislatively, they're not in session right now. so
Okay.
No updates right now.
He was busy signing and vetoing, so it's time for a break, huh?
There is discussion about that, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for the state of California. No, I've already reported on visiting the Lou Grant event. I have nothing further to add about any effort that we're making in Carpinteria about the School of Extended Learning. I think that process keeps moving. It's on track, and I look forward to finishing that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm taking a class finally, an adult ed. I just wanted to note, I ended up taking lots of pictures of the landscaping at the Schott Center. I haven't been there for a little while, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's native plants, and just, it's really very nice. So kudos to whoever did that. And I know probably Melinda. Oh, darn. Oh, darn. Because I really was taken by it, and that doesn't always happen. So that, and then when we were there was a foundation reception the other night. As I was leaving to go to my car, I got about 2/3 of the way there, and this person stopped me and asked me if I was on the Board of Trustees. And she knew me as mayor, but she wanted to tell me, and you never know when somebody says, who are you? Are you really? And then you go, okay, do I need my karate chop? Or what is it? And she said that she had been, as a teenager, she had been incarcerated for several years because of her drug addictions and that kind of thing. It was just a way of life she really didn't like. She took some courses in prison, which was good, and then came to City College, and she got her truck driving, whatever that is, license. I think it's a 1 or something, which I was very jealous of. I said, I've always wanted to be a long-distance truck driver, which is kind of a crazy thing, but, you know, you get to see the world. But she's working for Caltrans. She's an engineer. She's been promoted, and she just wanted to thank somebody. So I was fortunate enough to be in the right place almost at my car to be thanked, but I wanted to make sure that everybody else knew. She wants to take a couple more classes in the evening, and so that's where she was. But she said it not only turned herself around, she's clean and sober, hasn't had a problem, and she just loves working with all the guys at Caltrans. So,
Yeah, great.
it gave me chills, and I was so thrilled to be able to take that. Yeah.
Yes.
I enjoyed that story. And just to add, I attended the foundation event on, what was it, Tuesday night, or I can't remember which night it was now. And we heard from a student, a Promise student, who was just, like so many things I've experienced since I've been on the board, it was emotional. And she talked about how she wouldn't be here but for the Promise program, and she was obviously a very highly motivated young woman who has had her eyes set on getting a college degree for some time, and she just simply couldn't be doing it but for the Promise program, and that made us all very proud, I think, for the wonderful Promise program that we do have. So when I think about things that I want to do on the Board of Trustees, I guess I would say one goal is to make sure we keep the Promise program and keep it going, and in cooperation with the foundation.
Well, I attended the same event, and I felt much the same way. What an impressive student presentation. But I'd also add that we had impressive presentations from Jeff Green and others there who were very happy about how the college is working with the foundation, and particularly how our president, Dr. Beebe, is working together with the foundation to help our students with, we raise the money, and it goes to the programs, and it goes to our students in scholarships, and really that is, they're having some of their best years, and they were very happy.
I have nothing to add this evening.
Sounds good. Well, I wanted, Liz's comment about the ad hoc committee and saying that, they're grateful and glad that we're on the ground. And I just want to say, well, thank you to Dr. Beebe, because a president has to trust trustees to be able to do something like this. And so I'm glad that this is well received from the staff, but I do want to say thank you to Dr. Beebe for the trust that you have in allowing us to come on here, because we have great ideas, but without you giving the go, we can't, we work together. So I think that that's good. So thank you, Liz, for sharing that. I just wanted, I also attended the foundation, and I just love those people. Every time I go there, I'm like, it highlights just the heart of this community, and there's so many different folks that are involved in the foundation, and everybody's different, and everybody's here for this awesome school. So I just want to say that thank you to them. And then also, I attended one of the, I was over at La Casa Raza. Luis Villegas, our former trustee, was moderating a debate for the many candidates that are up for re-election. One thing that came up, and I wanted to, talk with you guys about, or just let you guys know, is the Santa Barbara Unified School District is considering adding one more graduation requirement to their high school students, above from what the state requires. And so they're wanting to add an ethnic studies requirement. And I first learned of it, I think, Jonathan and I, when we attended the PEAK presentation. I believe the students in the PEAK program are currently taking a Chicano studies class in the summertime. And the professor at the time said, oh, we're supporting it. So I wasn't sure if that's we, him, the department, or SBCC. And the reason I bring it is because independent from that, students should be encouraged to take courses in all disciplines. I don't know that I, sitting on this board, would encourage adding or requiring families an elective. I feel like that is up to the families to decide what electives they want their children to take. They do cite in their plan that they presented to their board that one option is going to be that the students would fulfill this through an SBCC dual enrollment course. Well, our dual enrollment program is it's a choice, it's an option, it's something that it happens in consultation with the counselor, because you're setting up a college transcript. So if the students take a dual enrollment course and they don't do well, that can negatively affect them. If they do well, it helps them. And so I don't know if that's something that, I 100%, I think as a parent of a secondary student, and a current dual enrollment student, our courses are great. I just don't know that, have we taken a position saying that we're in favor of requiring families to choose basically we're telling families this is the elective you're going to take, because it's not, so the governor just vetoed this at the state level. This same bill, there's a bill at the state, and he vetoed it this couple months ago, and the school district wants to move forward, and I've been hearing a lot of rumblings in the community. This certainly came up last night, and for me, it has nothing to do with the discipline necessarily. Goodness, that exploring kids taking courses in all disciplines is a good thing. For me, it's, are we requiring students to take an elective, and is that sort of something that we're saying is our option? I mean, I don't think that that's our. Peter should be able to take whatever course he wants, and it shouldn't be required. I mean, if he wants to take computer science, it should be computer science. I don't know, but it's out there in the community, and I don't know where our position is in this, because I notice in their agenda and their documents they cite as utilizing our SBCC system to sort of help support in this, and I just don't know enough I don't want us to get caught up in a debate in the community, I guess, just to be very clear. I want us to know where we stand at SBCC, how we're supporting our students with this.
Well, in terms of the ethics class requiring that in the high school, that must have been an individual's opinion. I haven't heard any discussion at the Academic Senate. And Melissa, you want to say something about that? But as far as a college position on whether the high school should be requiring an ethics class,
Ethnic studies.
that's
Ethnic studies,
or
yeah.
ethnic studies. I don't think we've taken a position on that.
Our dual enrollment program has always been structured based on requests from
Yes.
the high school district. So we don't prepare any courses or offer any courses that haven't come from the high school district as a request. So we have, it used to be called the pink slip, would come to us, and that was the high school's request. And so we don't offer anything that is not requested.
Okay, and we haven't had any requests of that, any
Oh,
that we
we-
know of, or?
Anything we offer, so we get new requests every semester.
Right, okay.
And then our dual enrollment team, makes the effort to offer those classes that are requested.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just, yeah, okay, so it's the same as we have been in. Okay, so this is rumblings in the community right now, and they've definitely had their, and I think what's difficult is they presented it to the community as, oh, if you're in favor for ethnic studies, come, show your support. But never has a message gone out to the community saying the graduation requirement is going to increase effective this date for these students. And I think that if that's presented to families, like, wait a minute, my kid's already really busy, I'm gonna have to add one more course and I can't be on campus, And I know for us, parents, they love having a free period because they can come here in the evening and take computer science or any of the other pathways for our academies that they don't offer at the high schools. So should the board encounter with that, I just wanna put that on your radars, and if you could let us know anything that comes up, because I wanna make sure that at least our messaging is clear. Our dual enrollment is still, as Melissa described it, students have choice, they have options, and we're not in the business of saying you have to do anything. Okay, good, because I'm a secondary parent, and now this is kind of like, we're busy enough. Yes, Trustee Miller.
Different topic. I meant to mention something else in my report, that I went to a luncheon meeting last week with President Beebe in Goleta, but it was a meeting of the Santa Barbara Cosmopolitan Club, which is a local service club, I think kind of similar to a Rotary or Lions Club. And President Beebe gave a presentation about all the good things we're doing at Santa Barbara City College, and I thought the response was very good. There was a question and answer session, and I didn't detect any concerns coming from the audience. There were about 100 people there, and I thought we ended the luncheon with a lot of enthusiasm for the college, and I didn't really hear any negativity or concerns about things that we're doing.
Good. That's excellent.
Just to follow
Yes.
up to what you
Yeah.
were saying about the
You know,
ethnic studies.
yeah.
I mean, I would like to discuss this, but we're not really agendized, and that's a
Right.
really specific topic. But I have a lot to respond, and I'd maybe like to have us agendize this
Yeah.
at another meeting, because I don't want to respond
Yeah.
and then be out of compliance with the Brown Act.
Yeah, no, so we'll maybe put that in, because it's coming up with our secondary parents, and especially I think our busy parents and our busy students that are already taking our dual enrollment, they want to just be able to take the dual enrollment class that they want, not have just this requirement put on them. So anyway, so yeah, we can talk about maybe, yeah, and then maybe you can get more background from Carrie maybe, or, our community loves our dual enrollment, loves our college, and we want to keep it that way. And yes, Peter.
Well, I meant to say this earlier, and it's a reflection on both what Marcia and Bob said about the event that we all attended. Actually, we didn't really define the event. It was the foundation's celebration of those of us who have taken time to remember the college in our wills and trust instruments for the long haul with legacy gifts. And the outpouring of affection for the college was palpable. And sometimes we get caught up in the little nitpicky stuff that by comparison doesn't compare. And I just wanted to highlight the feeling that emanated from that getting together by people who had benefited, either their kids had or their grandkids had, and they were there out of just huge affection for the college. And I think we need to remember why that is, and it has to do with the faculty and staff of this institution that work so hard to make sure that the mission statement actually works. And that, you know, I don't know, Patricia, please take that back to faculty, because I've said it before, we have the best faculty on the planet. And I have not heard any contention on that point, nor would I accept it.
Thank you, Trustee Haslan. Okay, any other reports from board members? Sounds good. So item 12.3, our Associated Student Body President did a good job covering that, and that is really here to recognize that we had the resignation of our student trustee, Ms. Crystal Farmer, and it is, and Ed Code spells out the different steps that we can take. Our thinking is that we value the voice and the place of the student trustee at the table, and so what Joshua is describing that he would be doing as of Monday, we're assuming it's going to be okay with the board, but nonetheless, this is here as an agenda item, so that if anybody has any thoughts on Josh's report or...
Whatever AS wants is good with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, sounds good. See, he did our job. Go, Josh. Okay, so now that brings us to item 12.4 and the SBCC Foundation. We all just had a good amount of time talking about the foundation. We did want to recognize them. They are one of our biggest partners. And Dr. Beebe is our only employee. And so when folks in the community, especially our partners like the Santa Barbara City College Foundation, take the time to let us know from their lens what they're thinking. We work closely with Dr. Beebe. We kind of see through Dr. Beebe and the reports and the staff sort of how the college is working with the community. But when this extended arm, our fundraising arm of our college, comes together in support of everything we do, as we so witnessed this past week, and when they take the time to express their gratitude for the work we're doing, for the work that Anthony's doing, I think it's appropriate to highlight and to thank them, to publicly thank them for that. Would someone like to read the letter? Is it up in your computer?
I could, but I think, is that
your-
really something?
your glasses?
I want to second what you just said, though, and Earl
Oh, it's up
Armstrong, Earl came up to me afterwards and said much the same thing by taking my arm and making sure I was really listening. Had some really nice things to say about President Beebe, but primarily his focus was on the interaction between Jeff and Anthony and how they worked so well together. And I think that's really worthy of congratulations and keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other
It doesn't
thoughts?
always happen that way, and we've been very fortunate that Jeff and I do get along so well.
Yeah.
And we meet every week to talk about things, strategies and such, and so it's really nice to be able to have a partner like that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the foundation board thinks so highly of you, thinks so highly of the college, our faculty and staff, administration. It's really nice to be able to have that kind of partnership. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he opens up by really telling us, he wants to express our appreciation for the partnership, leadership, and support of the foundation that you and Dr. Beebe have demonstrated over the past few years. So that's you, all of us. That's big. This last year had so much for our community, and so to see how everybody came together to lead in a way where there was no manual, there was no, we have all these plans, and we've been learning about all these plans. Like, where's the plan that said, what do you do when this happens? And there just wasn't a plan. So I think that the way you guys all came together, it was amazing. And the fact that they feel that you prioritized the relationship since the day you got here. That was something that of the many things that pull a college president that you highlighted the foundation and that community support. So thank you for, again, doing that job on behalf of us, because then when we're out at these places and at committee meetings and out in the community, it makes our job easier. So thank you. And thank you all of the staff that also supports the foundation, because I know Priscilla sits there actively with them and many folks. So that's that. That brings us to item 12.5. So this is back up here, Facilities Master Plan Draft. We have a number of items that have come to us since early March. Lindsay and her team, Rob. We had a discussion, presentation last time. And this is just really here for any thoughts, anything else that you guys would like to bring to the staff, certainly to Lindsay. Dr. Haslam, you proposed maybe having a retreat. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
What I was trying to get at was my own curiosity about particular aspects of this. What I didn't want to do is create a situation in which staff would feel directed to create a whole new something to present to us. I think what might work really well would be an informal conversation between appropriate staff and those of us at this table who are really interested in this and who feel that such a conversation would be of benefit, without that kind of overview of time-consuming preparation. Does that make sense to you guys who might be in that boat? Nod or something. Okay.
Are you talking about something where we, let's say it's not an actual board meeting, or it could be, but where we sit down and just talk about what's in it and go over it? And
It could be a regular board meeting just dedicated to that, but I'm just trying to lower the threshold of anxiety on the part of staff members who are already burdened with time-consuming stuff. We just want to have a chance to ask questions and really understand what the master plan looks like.
Right.
So like if you were to click on all these links and go back and listen to all the new stuff, like if you know, basically any questions, any extra stuff that you're like, gosh, I really would want to know this before, you know.
Well, that's part of it. But the other part is our feedback on what that says. And that could be helpful in some long-range view.
Any thoughts? Yes, Marcia.
I agree with Peter. I mean, I don't think this is an occasion for a lot of staff work to prepare something, but the topics that are most interesting to me have to do with the prioritization issues. We've had a couple of models of how to think about that, and I'm interested in exploring that more as a board, understanding if the priorities change or do not change as we look at different factors. A factor that matters in my mind is how many students are affected by a particular choice, you know, which buildings get the most use by our students, or another factor might be the condition of a particular building or part of a building for its purpose, because I recall that the descriptions of the labs that we have for some of our science programs were that they were seriously outdated. And so to me, that might be a higher priority. But I'm not looking for a big presentation. I'm looking for the opportunity to kind of interact on some of those questions. And the other area that interests me is the really big picture. We're talking a lot in this plan, and I understand why, about the buildings, but the buildings are set in a campus. And to start thinking about this plan in a campus-wide thought process that might say to us, parking is a perennial problem, and I don't think we've talked about that much in this context, but why we seem to have a much better solution to the atmosphere of the campus when the parking is placed as it is on West Campus, rather than on this side of the campus where a lot of the parking is kind of in the front toward what might be considered the best views, and you're looking at cars all the time. Are there ways to think about our campus that might give it a more open feel and a more enjoyable approach? And that is something I think we might talk about as well.
Yes.
I just want to look at the picture of the facilities master plan. And what we're talking about is a master plan that has had six meetings of this board. And frankly, I think if it were adopted, there are a lot of other things going on too. If you open the attachment, there's a lot of meetings in the future happening with the city, with the second district supervisors, community-wide forums. I personally believe that things like traffic, things like wayfinding signs, which we've talked about, and those kinds of things, they don't really belong in the facilities master plan, but if we wanted them to, we could look at them and talk about them later, and it'll be my replacement, but whoever, I think that that kind of thing is very important, the parking and the wayfinding and all these, and there's some other things too. But I don't want to hold this plan up, which has taken so much effort to put together, and I absolutely love the idea that we have this pulled together. And it's an update from, 1984 or something like that, which sounds like, George Orwell novel, right? Or something like that, a long time ago. So I guess I don't want to slow it down because I just think it would be so good to have it adopted, have the community know about it. And those other things that we want to talk about, I don't think there's a problem about putting them on the agenda and that kind of thing. So I'm right there with that. And I think if you wanted an individual meeting with the people that wrote this up, I think it's okay, but I personally don't feel like I need it right now.
Just out of curiosity, I know if it's I think 1 or 2 meetings, it would be okay, but if you're talking about having 4 meetings, then you might as well bring it back, right? Is anybody else feeling like they would reach out to Anthony and say, hey, can you set this up for me? You probably would, Marcia.
No, I would, but I'm thinking also of the function of the board meeting, which is to let the public know what we're thinking, and I think that's a better context. Now, I'm not suggesting we have to slow this down from other people commenting. I'm just suggesting we get that sort of discussion in our planning so that we do talk about some of these questions.
In the meantime, do you feel like you could give this feedback individually, and then, because it's going to end up in a plan anyway, it'll come to us, and whether a community member gave it, or a staff member, or a board member, somehow it'll end up in a plan. Do you think that, looking at the timeline, you could reach out and send that information, or? I guess I'm thinking also like Artie, to kind of, let's move it along. For me, I see what you're saying, Marcia, with looking at all the buildings, but for me, I also see the complexity of this funding that I'm still I would say I'm 75%, 80% comfortable with. And so the more I hear about it, it's so complex that this is all tied to the type of money we're going to get. And since that is our only revenue, right, that we have for this.
Well, just a point of clarification, is anybody suggesting that what has been talked about so far would in any way delay implementation of this?
I think what we're talking about is basically several options to be able to have input. We've got a list of forums and different things that we're going to be doing in the community, and so those are touch points where we can continue to get information. And so to your point, no, this isn't going to shouldn't slow us down. And I like what you're suggesting, President Gallardo, in terms of, gathering different information up from folks all the way through this process, and then it all comes together at the end. So there's no, we're not taking any information after this date or anything else, so it's still continuing on.
Okay. I mean, that's great, and I think I think what I'm hearing is that we just want to have a chance to have a conversation, and a conversation means more than having a presentation. That's unidirectional, but some feedback, at an informal level. And I don't care how that works. I mean, whether we call it a retreat or whether we call it a board study session or how we do it, so long as the workload on the part of staff is not increased in any way, and where it is strictly an informal information gathering session.
Serve at your pleasure, whatever you guys want. Just want to move it forward.
Yeah.
Yes, Trustee Nielsen.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Peter. I think what for me, it boils down to this. In the end, we're going to adopt this plan, and we're going to say this is great, and we're going to approve this thing. And I don't want to get, and it's not our job to get in the weeds on all the details of all the buildings and all that. But if we don't feel comfortable with it, if we're not knowledgeable about it, how do we take ownership of it that's on something and approve it? And what we're saying is, you know, we're just not comfortable yet. And it's not that we see things that we don't like. We just, so much as we just want to have a conversation instead of a presentation and then try to figure out, how do I ask that question? We need to be warm and fuzzy on this issue, and that's what we're asking for. Make it happen, sir, please.
So Peter, is what something you're thinking is November 8th is our next meeting. So between today and November 8th, we all like read the plan and come up with our thoughts and have like an agenda item where we can share those thoughts publicly with Lindsay? Is that what you're saying?
I really hadn't gotten to that point. I'm not sure that I have formalized a process in my mind that I just know that different members of the board have different kinds of questions, that the answers to which would generate a comfort level of the sort that Trustee Nielsen is talking about. And I don't think that everybody has to go. Marty, if you don't feel like you need to be there, I think it's cool. I'm not, role will not be taken. So I guess I'm trying to emphasize the less formal part of this process. And if it doesn't cost us anything in terms of staff time, in terms of anybody else, I see no reason why we couldn't have a session just dedicated to this one item, which is one of the most complicated things that we have done at this board level. Mm-hmm. And what I think it makes a distinction here, the distinction I'm searching for is for us to do something in a non-pro forma way, to really take ownership of a plan, a long-range plan that's going to be here long after we are not here.
I share Peter's comments and Craig's comments as well. I think when I heard the presentation, there are 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5 slides where you just look at it and go, I really want to ask more about those slides. And those are basically the conclusions or the priorities that were listed. And I don't feel like I have a good handle on those, and I'd just like to know more. So I think I don't know if it's an hour or 2 hours or an hour and a half, but something along the lines that Peter is suggesting, I think would be helpful.
But I think to take Jonathan's point, I think it was implied that we shouldn't be doing this without actually looking at the previous conversations that have already taken place.
Sure.
And I think that was the point that, and the reason why you put all of these links together, so that we could do some homework and come prepared, not just suddenly newly introduced to the concept of, hey, let's have a facilities master plan. So anyway, I'll shut up.
That's good. So maybe, how about a special meeting, special board meeting? Yeah?
Whatever and it doesn't have to take place instantly or between now and November 8th, or whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, so would you guys be good with the special meeting? It doesn't have to be a full retreat, just, I mean, our normal board meetings are, Yes, Trustee Nielsen.
I think that would be a good idea, where we could just not feel like everybody gets tired. We go through all, and then we're going to go through this topic and this topic and this one. But I really think to be relaxed and be able to actually, delve into some of the areas where we have questions. I know I have some questions as well. And, I think I'm going to get more, and I may answer some of my own if I reread that stuff again. There was a lot to take in. You only got a couple of days. Then it has to gel and go through it all and relate it to what you know. And then there are holes and knowledge gaps. It's not something that you do real fast. We're looking at the whole picture. We're not an expert group doing one part of it where you can really nail everything down. I need to have a better understanding.
Good.
That's good.
Good. Anybody else? Trustee Aboud?
No, I mean, maybe if we wanted to make it a limited session, it could be like the hour and a half before the next board
As
meeting.
long as we don't violate the Brown Act, so it has to be a session.
Yeah,
We
no,
can't
we'll just special
go
board
have
meeting.
coffee.
Yeah, and then Jonathan said he'll move to adjourn in an hour and a half, and then everybody's going to go home.
Yeah, no, maybe we start at 2:30 on the 8th, and then we have to stop at 4 and move on to this, or maybe they'll burn us out. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, well, have fun clicking away. If you get a binder like this, and you just peruse through it when you're just sitting up there, eventually, like I said, I can't teach a class on this, but I feel like I could pass the test by now, and that's just from, I think Marty, a few years back, I'm like, oh, look at our binder. I'm like, okay, paper's good, and you're right, sometimes these attachments, they're online, and then we leave, and out of mind, out of sight. So we'll work with Angie and Dr. Beebe to get a meeting, and then get folks comfortable. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Okay, item 14.1, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second. No one wants to adjourn? A second?
Second.
Second, good. It's been moved by Trustee Aboud, second by Trustee Miller to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we adjourn. Thank you.